lack of ownership. Clients do not want to hear, that's not my department.
That bad.
They don't want to hear, I'll have someone get back to you.
Right. People remember how you make them feel, and that feeling is contagious. And this is where we talk about the leaks and referrals and responses.
Right.
Because if you make a customer feel like they don't matter, when they tell their friends about their experience, their friends are going to embrace and catch a piece of that feeling.
Right.
So they're also going to feel like they don't matter.
Right. Now, I would say, right, the larger the investment,
Correct.
the more I expect things to go right.
Right.
I give more leeway at the Hampton Inn than I do at the Four Seasons, I think.
100%.
This is the Grow.
I'm wondering,
with Cory Mosley.
I'm wondering if you considered going out and practicing before your grand debut on the pickleball court.
I did.
Oh, you did?
I've considered it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out, how would I do that?
How would you? Well, you go out and, get some footwork in.
Like old-timey tennis where I could hit up against the wall and back and forth.
Yeah, you could do that. You've got the racket. You've got...
I have the equipment now.
Yeah, you've got a couple different things.
Yeah.
But kind of, or at best, go out and familiarize yourself with the court. Maybe that would be, a good idea.
Okay.
So it's not completely foreign to you. Maybe you go out, move a little, put a little tiger bomb on them knees. Get them ready. Get it warmed up. Listen, I'm not going to be responsible for putting anybody in the hospital. Okay, so I just want to tell you. I want to let you know. I mean, I know you've been walking, so just get those stretches going there, and But yeah, get yourself acclimated.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Are you warning me?
And I think we're going to film it. This might be something that we want to put on a future podcast episode.
It might be our B-roll for something.
Yeah, it might be our B. Well, we might just cut to it and have Willie H put it up there. So I don't know, but what do you know? I think the show has started.
I think it has started.
Yes, folks. That opening rant is a sign of one thing.
It's preparation.
It's a sign that you have come to the right place for another week of the Grow Business Podcast. That's right. I'm your host, Cory Mosley. Joined by, what did they call? Co-train conductor. Because see, pilot is a plane. We always do pilot. We always do co-pilot.
Right.
But is there such thing as a co-train conductor? Or is there only one person? Why are they allowed to do it all by themselves? But there's got to be two people in the cockpit. Yeah.
That's a great question.
Things that make you go, Listen, if Willie H is saying if the track was just that simple, then it wouldn't be late all the time. It's one, what, how does a train 45 minutes late? What happened in the process? Rush hour? I mean, what happened? It's the Silver Star and the Orient Express or whatever. They have schedules. How are we just randomly late? It was too hot. It was too cold weather. Right. The rain.
There's ice on the track.
I don't know. I got to figure that out. Somebody let me know. Well, you are LG007. Lon Graham is in the building. Voice of reason.
It's good to be
Conductor.
System engineer. What do they call
System engineer. Yes, the voice of reason conductor.
There you go.
That's good. And of course, the man hitting the buttons.
Hit the buttons, William.
I didn't even say that yet. I don't know why I didn't get there yet. I'm gonna skip him this week.
Hold on, Buckaroo.
Willie H is here.
Work with me, brother. Work with me.
It will be determined if that is a good thing or a bad thing in about 30 minutes.
We'll let you know.
Well, folks, we're super excited to have you here. We're here to do one thing and help you grow your business. That's right. We do that based on our 5 pillar principles. LG007, he loves to tell us what those are because these are the principles that we believe any business growth challenge can be overcome. Yes?
Indeed. Well, thank you, Cory.
We want to identify, isolate, and attack.
That's right.
What are those 5 pillars, my friend?
Mindset, sales, marketing, operations, and people.
Excellent. You say it like somebody who's executing every day on those principles there.
I'm working on it.
Exactly.
Making progress every day.
Yes, and we encourage you to learn more about that, learn more about those pillars in my latest book, Position for Growth. I got an email the other day. UK royalties are coming in.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
How about some of that?
I had to read. I read it
Yeah.
again. I said, "Oh, UK." I thought they spelled US wrong. I thought it was just a typo.
Congratulations.
Got some UK, so that must be the international. That must be the international appeal here. Thank goodness it's the UK. Don't have to translate it, but we might want to work on that. I might need to look into getting this translated into Spanish and some other languages.
Correct.
So I can be big stepping in Japan.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Maybe go over there. We do a Position for Growth tour.
There we go.
Grow Business podcast tour.
Oh my goodness. We could do the whole Asian continent.
Yeah, exactly. Look at that. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes, it do.
Interesting. All right. Well, until that happens,
until we get
we're here
sponsor.
in America. We're here in America. And folks, we've got another great show for you today. I fashion many of these topics, not on just what the marketplace is doing, but on just like regular experiences. Because I find that, we're all living in the environment. We're all customers in our everyday.
Right.
So you're in the shoes of business owner while you're running your business, but you're a customer. Whether it's where you go to lunch, where you shop for clothes, where you choose to live, what gas station you go to, we're all customers. No matter how big our business, we all step into that role, and we see and observe things that we either have an opportunity to go, "Whew, I'm glad we don't do that in our business," and that's something we don't want to do in our business, or we go, "Oh, I like what they're doing. Yep. Maybe that's something we want to adopt and see how it can work in our business." Today, we're talking about the other part.
Okay.
Today's topic is how your client services team might be killing future sales.
Okay.
And what to do about it.
Okay.
I'm in a scenario right now with a vendor that everything was all great on the sales side. You know how this goes.
Yes.
And then implementation, but then the client services has been a little rocky, but they're banging on the door, knock, 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 knock. I hit the mic, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Saying, "Hey, let's renew. Let's do some more business.
Right.
We'd like to have this part of the business too, and that part. Let's do that."
Right.
And I'm like, "Hold on, Buckaroo." I'm like, your client services team is not doing you any favors to continue to drive revenue. So, and I think if we're honest about it, most business owners, we obsess over marketing,
Right.
leads, sales, right? Sales funnel, all of these things. But many times the area or department, and again, department, it could be a department of one, but
Correct.
that area, client services, implementation, taking care, service after the sale,
Correct.
right?
Execution.
Right. Many times that is ignored in a way that people don't realize. And it really becomes a silent destroyer of future revenue.
Oh my God.
When you think about it, right? In this world where client acquisition is brutal,
Yes.
like to get a client, it is brutal. We were at a franchise expo recently, and I'm amazed to see the amount of like pizza concepts that are still out there. Like the amount of exhibitors that have pizza concepts.
Okay.
Because there's just so many places to get pizza.
Right.
I mean, how competitive is that? I mean, how hyper competitive is that? I just find it so interesting. So it's just so competitive to get customers. If you name any segment you want, very few people, particularly if you are in a consumer-based business, are in a category of one.
Correct.
Very, very few people. We're like, no one can do what I can do, or we're the only people that supply this product or service.
Right.
Very rare. You got some, government people that make a thing that, will keep the Hashitashi 5000 working, and then the only people. I know some people in that world, like, we produce this thing, we supply to the government. That's our number one client, our only client, and it's to keep this thing run, these machines that they have all over the globe running.
Right.
Right? That's not most of us.
Correct.
For most of us, if you're in insurance, lots of options. If you're in real estate, lots of options. If you're in retail, I don't care if it's a pet store, grocery store, whatever, just think about the amount of grocery stores around us. Right? You can go to Kroger, you can go to Publix, you can go to Fresh Market, you can go to Aldi, you can go to Lidl, you can go to Trader Joe's, you can go to Whole Foods.
Correct.
I mean, that's 7.
And then if you're willing to
Groceries.
travel 2 more miles, you can go to Wegmans.
Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot about that. Yeah. And you go to Wegmans, 8.
Right.
Not to mention Target for groceries, Walmart for groceries.
Correct.
Like if you're looking at groceries, that's over 10 locations within 5 to 10 minutes
Yeah.
that you can go.
Correct.
So like how you deliver the service matters in terms of the return. So, you know, you don't lose most future sales because of bad marketing. You lose them because of bad experiences after the sale.
Woo. When the church say amen.
Marketing gets you the attention. Sales gets you the engagement.
And the income.
And the income.
revenue. Yeah. the
Right.
revenue.
And then you got to execute. And that's what you're talking about, Cory.
Yes.
And is if the execution isn't up to the level of the expectation,
Right.
then you're not gonna get another opportunity to do it.
That's right. That's right. You know, because and for a lot of this stuff, why this is important is because in many cases, LG, it's hidden. It's a hidden leak,
Yeah.
right? It's the thought process that we closed the deal, we're good, right? The service team, they'll handle it.
Right.
You know, that's operations, not growth.
Right.
Right? So the reality of it is, though, a client services team, the implementation piece, the ongoing piece, customer support, satisfaction, customer success, whatever you call it,
Right.
it's the retention engine. It's the referral engine.
Right.
It's the reputation engine. It's the upsell engine. And if they're untrained, unchecked, or misaligned, they're also your revenue killer.
Bingo.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, and in organizations of a certain size and up, where you have a dedicated sales team and you've got dedicated ops or dedicated delivery or whatever
Right.
that is, that's one of the things that causes some of the frustration, both on the ops side and on the sales side. Is sales says, well, here's what we do. This is what we'll do. We'll sign the contract. We got the business. And then ops is like, well, you can't commit to that, or ops can't execute on it. And that's where the friction comes internally.
Right.
Because sales has to go back out and say, wow, we messed up.
Right.
And when you have to go out and say we messed up, it's hard to keep that business. It's harder to re-earn business than it is to earn it.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I mean, yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I think, you know, here's the reality. Your next sale, right? I want you to think about this for a minute. Your next sale is being decided by your last service experience,
Lord have mercy. Yeah, agree.
right?
Yeah.
You know, I get hammered with, refer us to various services. Like, okay, watch what you ask for.
Right.
You know, just in terms of like you're putting, because to me, I think you can create the opposite effect. You can create someone who wasn't thinking about necessarily commenting on their experience, but you keep asking them. How's our service? What are we doing? Give us a review.
Right.
You might not like the outcome of that review.
Yeah.
You know, so all right. So let's look at 5 ways your client services team could be killing future sales.
Right.
And, you know, again, this is the litmus test, right? It's are we doing this? You know, how does this fit in our organization?
Right.
Are we guilty of these? Or can we go, great, I can confirm that we're not doing it. So I want you to have dual perspective here.
Yeah.
Right? So let it be confirmation that you're not doing these things and you're on the right track. Or it could be a wake-up call for people also.
Correct. Understand that you may want to pay attention and see if this exists in your organization.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Number 1, inconsistent customer experience. Like, think about it this way. You know, one client gets the white glove treatment, another gets ignored.
Right.
You know, so that is an inconsistency problem. But more importantly, it creates a lot of different things. Number 1 is confusion. Number 2 is frustration. And number 3 is negative word of mouth.
Yes. Yeah, and you know, so much of customer service and so much of client experience is based on expectation. What do they expect in terms of delivery, right? And so if I have an expectation that, and this is what you're talking about, if I have an expectation that I'm going to get delivery in a certain way, and I have a friend who also is doing business with your company, they get a better experience, I'm going to feel like, my experience isn't as good as theirs.
Right.
You start doing these comparison things, and it's all based on what does your customer expect? And you've got to have some consistency. And it's the old saying, say what you do and do what you say, right? And be consistent about it is what you're talking about.
And I'm just thinking about this. I was in Manhattan a few weeks ago, and we were at a restaurant, and I'm thinking about it because it caught me at the time, but I didn't say anything because I didn't need it. But the guy at the table next to us, the waiter that was handling the table next to us, was like, oh, okay, great. I'm going to get these orders in. Would you guys like some bread for the table while you're waiting?
Right.
We never got offered bread.
Mm.
Wonder what that's about. Now that I'm thinking about it. Now, I didn't say anything because I didn't need the bread. So maybe that was God.
Right.
He works in mysterious ways,
Correct.
as they say. But, I mean, think about, now, here's the thing. It caught me. I did mentally check that.
Correct.
And how does that shape my opinion, even subconsciously, about that restaurant chain? When the word Manhattan and restaurants, is there a greater opportunity for decision?
Right.
Right? There's certainly no captive audience when it comes to food choices and dining, and particularly high-end dining in Manhattan.
Correct.
So, I'm going to have to keep that in mind. Like, I'm going to revert back to that experience and probably go, you know what? We went there last time. Let's try somewhere else new.
Yeah.
Now, tell me you agree with this. I mean, when you're in a customer role, I mean, do you expect perfection?
No.
I mean, right? You're not unreasonable.
Right.
I mean, we wouldn't be considered an unreasonable category. Now, I would say, right, the larger the investment,
Correct.
the more I expect things to go right.
Right.
I give more leeway at the Hampton Inn than I do at the Four Seasons, I think.
100%. Well,
Right.
and it's standards.
Right.
It's expectations of standards, not expectations of perfection.
Right.
Of perfection, but it's an expectation. It's a standard, an expectation of a standard. So you're paying more at the Four Seasons, you're paying more at the Ritz. You have a higher expectation of a standard,
Right,
than you do at the Hampton Inn.
I mean, I sadly was at some Business Express hotel of some sort. I can't remember the name.
Right.
Tried to block it out of my mind. But
Right.
the girl was watching TikTok videos at the front on her phone,
Right.
instead of like being attentive to guests. But it didn't really bother me. We had a whole conversation about what she was watching,
Right. Exactly.
and the show, and then what she was watching. What is the show with with Quinta Brunson? What's the show? Abbott Elementary. Yeah, she was watching Elementary. So we just started talking about that. Like it didn't even faze me.
Right.
No, I think I would probably have a different opinion maybe if I was checking into Ritz-Carlton or somewhere.
Correct,
I don't know. But I find that most people don't expect perfection, but they do want consistency.
Yes. And people want to be recognized. Now, the level of expectation of recognition is different at different places based on what you're doing and the type of business you do.
Right.
But when you walk up to a counter at any hotel, doesn't matter what hotel it is, you want them to say, well, welcome.
Right.
And recognize that you are about to be a guest in their hotel.
Right.
That's it. That's the standard, the minimum standards. You got to recognize people and then make them feel like they matter.
All right, number 2, slow response times. I mean, we now this is self-created to a certain extent, right? The internet created this, but I mean, because these expectations are brutal.
Correct.
In a lot of, and I could be guilty of it. I mean, no one would put my name next to the word patient. Okay. Now that's a whole nother thing. This is part of my ADHD journey, right? And I learned that in that world, there is only ADHD folks only operate on 2 modes.
Okay.
Right now and later.
Oh, okay.
right? There's right now and not now.
Right.
Like, so, again, we're going to do, I'm still curating my show. I do want to do an episode on this because it's very insightful and it explains, Lord, it explains a lot. But slow replies,
right?
Because this is about interpretation. So slow replies can get interpreted as lack of care.
Correct.
Right? That's the key. And then delayed service then erodes trust.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
whether it's intended to or not, it just changed the opinion.
Right.
I think there's a lot of business leakage, a lot of lost business due to things that most business owners don't even think mattered.
Right. Yeah.
But it matters to the customer.
Yeah.
Right?
And so much of this, Cory, and you talk about your research into ADHD and those personality types and how that manifests and how that it manifests in experiences. So much of, and I say that to say so much of this is based on expectation. So if the customer expects an immediate response because you've created that expectation and you don't deliver on immediate response, well, that's 100% on you.
Right.
So the way in the sales process, and this is a little bit about the sales piece of it, is it's the salesperson, whoever's selling. Mm-hmm. You may be a organization of one. If you're selling and delivering, you got to create the expectation of what you're delivering.
Correct.
But so much of this is based on the expectation of what expectation did you create,
right?
And are you living up to that?
Yeah. I mean, speed is not a bonus. Like, oh, we do this, this, and this, and we're fast.
Right.
Speed isn't a bonus, folks. It's a baseline now.
Right.
So not having the luxury, not having that built in.
Right.
And, unfortunately, where I see this a lot in older businesses.
Okay.
Where they have a process or they have, this setup or older-minded thinking.
Okay.
Not necessarily older people, but older-minded thinking is, we'll get to it. We don't have to move that fast.
Right.
We'll, you see this now, the smaller the niche, the more you are likely to see lackadaisical behavior. Because you may not be able to go as many places.
Correct.
Like there's only so many people that make this desk and manufacture it this way and the way we do it, right? So if they're a little slow or a little sloppy, they get more grace because you don't have not zero options, but as many.
Fewer, right?
It's not like where do we want to go for pizza today,
right?
So I think you want to observe that. Now, if you're in one of those niches, have you been behaving that way,
right?
Because it is and will affect sales.
Yeah, and we'll talk about solutions for this later, but at least look at, are there areas that you are leaking, to use the word? Are you leaking performance? Are you leaking Are you leaking experience? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
No, agreed. All right. 3.
Okay.
Lack of ownership. Clients do not want to hear, that's not my department.
That bad.
They don't want to hear, I'll have someone get back to you.
Right.
Now, obviously, if you get the wrong person on the phone.
Correct.
And that person's not empowered, doesn't have the knowledge to answer the question, we don't want to give bad information.
Correct.
And that's all about delivery. Right. So, oh, well, Mr. Customer, I'm familiar with this, but I don't want to give you wrong information. The person who handles this or has the knowledge to solve this problem is X.
Right.
Now, also what you do to deal with that now. Are you just transferring them? Or is it, I'm gonna walk down the hall, or let me ping that person, I'm gonna get with them one-on-one and have them call you? Or is it just, let me transfer you and be done with it? Right. So that the execution of that piece matters too and can keep you from losing ground. Because many times, every handoff to somebody else can increase your chances of losing the relationship.
So I'll go back to and I'll go back to the beginning when we started talking about staying in hotels, right? Mm. Think of it in these terms. When you check in at the Hampton Inn, and I'm using different brands, right? Mm-hmm. They'll say the bathroom's past the elevator and to the right.
Right.
When you're staying at a Ritz, they go, let me walk you to the elevator.
Sure.
So, we're talking about handoff, direction, guidance, who takes ownership, who takes responsibility. And one of the things that's important to be able to deliver on that is understanding the roles within the organization.
Right.
Who's responsible for that? And how do you get the right people involved? And so the way you communicate it goes back to client expectation. The way you communicate it is what the client's going to expect.
Right.
If you say that's not my problem, they're going to expect that everything's nobody's problem.
Right.
If you say, you know what, that's not what I do, but let me get the person involved and we'll get back to you with that. That's an expectation of, well, I can't solve your problem. I'm going to be involved in the solution.
Correct.
And that's a very different perspective.
Correct. I don't feel alone. I don't feel left in the abyss.
Right.
Right. Particularly if you have to deal with a middleman person. So if the org chart of the company is, okay, great, there's an account executive, and then the account executive deals with the people who are doing more of the entry level or ground level work.
Right.
And you can't get to that person. That's the most frustrating. That's the most frustrating thing for me. I understand why these hierarchies need to exist, but man, that part does drive me insane. Okay. Oh, go ahead. Finish.
Well, and that's a perfect example of you can't get to that person. Look inside your organization and understand, is that designed?
Right.
Or is that a flaw?
Right. Is that a bottleneck issue?
Right.
Right.
So understand, if it's designed because you've got to protect certain people, understand that. Create a pathway.
I need to be in everything. I'm the owner, and I need I need to.
But if it's a bottleneck,
right, correct. Many times it is. Many times that's how the bottleneck's created. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Maybe this guy can help me.
Indeed. Okay, this one here, number 4, no emotional intelligence. No EQ. Here's the thing. You could deal with a customer-related issue. Your team could technically be right, but emotionally wrong.
Yeah.
As it relates to the customers, right? Because customers don't just remember what happened, they remember how they felt. And then they associate that piece.
Right.
I mean, it goes back to dating. I mean, so much of sales. I mean, it really goes back to dating, right? I mean, and again, I speak just in terms of man-female relationships for disclaimers, but it's the goal, right, from a dating perspective, from a male perspective. A woman remembers how you make her feel,
right,
when she's with you, what that feeling she associates with you.
Correct.
Positive or negative, happy or sad or whatever.
Right.
So it's the same thing here. How people felt that was handled now drive. It doesn't even matter if the technicality of it doesn't matter. And I was having this conversation with my wife the other day. We were dealing with this business, and the statement I made is, these people are very efficient. They're just not very service-oriented, right? So it was the hotel we were at in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah, the front desk staff. Efficient, not engaging, not welcoming in that traditional sense.
Right.
Technically efficient.
Right.
Check in, swipe, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. No, and folks, let me tell you, just saying welcome in, if you don't convey that, a begrudging welcome in,
Right.
welcome in, is not the Cory, we greet everybody.
Right.
How do you greet them?
Yeah. Well, here's a saying, and I use, and it's in a saying I've adapted from a number of different things, and I use it in my talks. People remember how you make them feel, and that feeling is contagious. And this is where we talk about the leaks and referrals and responses.
Right.
Because if you make a customer feel like they don't matter, when they tell their friends about their experience, their friends are going to embrace and catch a piece of that feeling.
Right.
So they're also going to feel like they don't matter.
Right.
And I tell this story about this great experience I had with somebody who was a musician. And every time I hear her music, I go back and relive that experience, and it's almost 10 years later.
Wow.
And every time I hear a song, I tell a friend who's with me, and they catch a piece of that, and they have this feeling about her too.
Right.
That's a positive experience.
That's right.
Just like those positive experiences, negative experiences are contagious. And the people that you're working with will tell people they know, and the people that they know are like them, and the people that are like them are people that could do business with you.
Voice of reason.
Yeah, there you go. You deserved it. It makes me think about like the never meet your heroes
Right, yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And I remember meeting this famous DJ person, and he gave me his hand. Like, he gave me like this, like, I was like, oh, great to meet you. He gave me his hand. Like, oh, yeah, like, yeah, okay. Like what? He's dead now, by the way.
Right. Oh,
so,
okay.
So, karma. Sorry. Oops. Oops. Wow. Guess we don't want to put that in the reel.
Wow.
I didn't say his name. I just
Correct.
He's dead now.
Right.
I'm not correlating the two.
Right.
I'm just saying karma.
You're just saying both of them exist in the same situation.
Two things can't be true.
That is, yes.
And I've had those experiences where you met somebody and they were not pleasant or. Right. I mean, listen, I understand but you chose that life, like,
right.
To a certain extent, I suppose.
Right.
Not you're not entitled to privacy, but if you're out in public and you're famous, people that like you, I mean, your fans are going to want to,
right.
So
everything. I say this: everything requires an exchange. The more famous you are, the more attention you get. The more you have to be willing to deal with that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Number 5, last one, then we're going to switch gears.
All right.
Zero connection to sales goals. So most service teams, when you think about, are measured on, tasks completed, tickets closed, like that kind of thing from an efficiency standpoint.
Sure.
Many organizations don't tie retention or referrals or look at how many upsells are created by the client service team.
Right.
And guess what happens? They don't optimize for that then.
Right.
I guarantee you there's people on your service team that would like raises.
Yeah.
Or they'd like ways to make more money.
Correct.
So do you have a plan that can tie in their ability to upsell or create retention on contract renewal and that can incentivize them to do that?
Right. Yeah, Cory, it's interesting. There's companies that I've worked for and companies that I work with in consulting roles. And we work more on the sales side, and I'll bring it all together, though. On the sales side, there's a lot of companies that will highly reward new business and then lower the commissions on repeat business.
Right.
Like you've already earned that. Okay, I get it. But what are you doing on the backside then?
Sure.
To reinforce keeping that business. And this is what you're talking about.
Yep.
So if you reduce the commissions or you reduce the incentives to the sales side for repeat business, maybe you take that gap and apply it to the service side or to the operations team so that you're working together now to keep that business.
Yeah.
As opposed to letting it, like you talked about in the very beginning, as opposed to letting it bleed out or leak out on the backside.
And listen, what you're describing is training. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if your service team isn't trained, to protect revenue, it could be positioning itself to have the opposite effect.
100%.
I mean, bottom line.
Like we did our job, now we're done.
Yeah. Now, we're talking about client services. We're talking about this piece here today. But, one of the other things that contributes to your ability to grow your business or develop more business is how your authority shows up and how your authority is seen in the marketplace. And that's something that the Obvious Choice interview is doing to help with.
Yeah, Cory, thank you. Because what you're talking about, authority, is absolutely real. Right now, people are deciding if they trust you before they ever reach out. And if you don't look like the authority, you don't even get the opportunity to get the initial piece of it. And that's exactly why we created the Obvious Choice interview. It's a professionally produced TV-style interview that showcases your expertise, your story, and how you help your clients. So when prospects find you, you're not just another option. You're the obvious choice to do business with them. You can use it on your website, social media, in your sales process, anywhere your trust matters. If you want to see what it looks like and how it works, just head over to obviouschoiceinterview.com.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Lon.
Yeah.
All right. So let's now flip the script in the time we have remaining here, right? So we've given you the problem. So you've given things to look for. And hopefully you've done the is that me exercise here, right? So we're going to flip it now. Because the same team that could kill your sales can also become your most powerful growth driver.
And you better believe it.
Exactly.
Right.
So let's talk about a couple of those things here. Number one, tie service to revenue metrics, right? If you're not tracking, start looking at retention rate.
Yes.
Start looking at repeat purchase rate. Start looking at referral generation. Start looking at customer lifetime value, right? I mean, we've all heard this one. What gets measured tends to improve.
Right.
But this is an opportunity now to say, okay, I want to take a more proactive approach to that.
Yeah, I mean, and the most expensive acquisition is the first one. Once you get them in, they're already in your ecosystem. They're already your environment. They're already a customer. If you deliver, when you deliver excellence and to live up to their expectations, they're going to want to do more business with you.
Right.
So the cost of doing business goes down and the value of that business goes up. So measure your retention rates, measure customer lifetime value, and you'll start to see the reduction in cost and the increase in value. And the longer you keep them, the more valuable they are and the less expensive they are to keep.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, number two, train for experience, not just execution.
Yes.
Right? So don't just teach how to do the job, right? Train them how to communicate.
Right.
Train them how to de-escalate. Train them how to create wow moments.
Right.
You know, I know an organization where their team, their client care team is empowered to spend up to $250 on a client satisfaction related issue or matter without any approval. Right. Without bottlenecking it.
Right.
Let me see what I can do for you. Let me get back to you. Let me go talk to my manager, all these other things.
Right. Let me fix that for you is essentially what you're saying. Here's the other thing that there are companies that do that have a dedicated amount to solve a client problem.
Mm-hmm.
Not every client has a problem. Do you use that to recognize a client?
Like that.
Do you use that to say, you know what?
Yes.
Thank you for doing it. But send them a card, maybe whatever your value system is. Send them something personalized to them.
Yes.
Say thank you for doing business. Because if you only deal with your problems, you only have problems.
Right.
I mean, so that's a beautiful thing. Not enough people use it though as a recognition tool because you didn't have a problem.
Right.
And measure that.
It's a good right. It's just like, pushing for positive reviews because most people are default to leaving negative reviews.
Correct.
They leave reviews when there's a problem.
Right.
All right. Number 3. This is a good one. Look at building a no handcuff culture as it relates to the client team. And what we're talking about is this idea of empowerment.
Yeah.
So we talked about it just a second ago with a dollar value, but the philosophy becomes own the problem until it's solved.
Yeah.
So it's not passing the buck to somebody else.
Right.
You alluded to it a little bit, but previously, but I want to just isolate it as a thing, right?
Yeah.
Own the problem. Again, I'm not the exact person that has the knowledge here, but I'm going to I'm going to address this issue for you. I'm going to see it through.
Right. And have a line of communication to recognize that it's been resolved.
Right.
So what you're saying is you take it, you solve it, you see it through, and then recognize that problem was resolved in the way that you're asking people to do it. So recognize the ownership of that process.
Yeah. No, I like that. Okay, number 4, speed up everything. Now, the baseline is to know what the current scenario is, right? What is the 0 to 60 time, before we can go to improve it? So what's the average response time to an email inside your organization, to a phone call? Are calls getting answered? If not, what's the response time? Are you returning calls within an hour? What's your response time to requests? Many times if you're chatting on a website and the team's not available, it says, they have a typical contact time.
Right.
Our team typically replies in 20 minutes or 1
100%.
business day or whatever.
Right.
Sets the expectation. I might not be thrilled that it's 1 business day, but at least I won't be sitting around wondering, I know it won't be coming in 5 minutes then.
Right.
And then if they choose to pleasantly surprise me,
Correct.
now that creates an environment for them to do that. So, once you understand that baseline and you know what those response times are, now you ask the question, where are we losing momentum and how do we close the gaps?
Yeah. And, it comes back to what expectations are you creating, and then are you fulfilling those? And say it over and over and over again. Say what you do and then do what you say.
Right.
And then you fulfill those expectations, at least at the minimum level.
This might be a guy I want to work with.
I was going to see if you were going to get something.
Yeah.
Longram.com. Go
That's
over
right.
and learn some more information about
100%.
LG007. Bring them to your organization.
Yes, indeed.
To talk leadership. Okay. Here's the last one.
Okay.
This is, I like this. Create a feedback loop to the sales and marketing teams. Right, because when you think about it, right, your service teams are the ones that are hearing the complaints.
Right.
They're hearing the objections. They're hearing
Right.
anything that's confusing or whatever. Right. They've got the suggestion box. They're the walking, talking suggestion box.
Right.
And ultimately, this is gold for improving, your messaging, your sales process, your offers. Who are you attracting the right people, or do you need to adjust your ICP?
Right.
Like from a marketing, and it holds so much. Your offers, like it holds so much there. Your client services team, when you think about it, here's the truth that your marketing will never tell you.
Right. Yeah. And when I worked in a sales role back in surgical sales, early on in the role, I butted head a little bit with the operation. Well, they butted heads with me.
I was going to say you were playing that down, but
Right.
go ahead.
and because there were things that I was trying to accomplish, and what I learned was, and so this is in line with your feedback loop, right? They're like, you're making commitments that we can't deliver at the time frame that you're
right. Gotcha. Right.
And so what?
You were that guy.
Well, yeah, I mean,
The sales guy out there. We could do that. We could do that. We could do that. Press hard, 5 copies, sign it up.
Well, and so what happened though is exactly what you're talking about, Cory. I got some response from them. They said, "Look, here are the challenges that we're dealing with."
Right.
So instead of making a commitment up front, I would call the operations team and say, "This is what I'm trying to accomplish. What's the best way to do it, so that we can solve this together for this client?" And now what I've got is, not only do I have an understanding of what they can accomplish, I've got their buy-in because they gave me the solution. So now we're going to have a much better opportunity to retain that client because we're all in the same thing together and we've all agreed on what we can do. And now let's go execute on it.
Right.
Let the church say amen.
There you go. Look at you. You got one. You gotta get one. You got at least one. Got to get one every episode.
There we go.
All right. Here's the bottom line.
Yep.
Because now it's a mindset conversation.
Yep.
Right. So you got to stop seeing client services as a cost center and start seeing it as a revenue multiplier.
Yeah.
And a tool. In today's market, leads are more expensive. Truth is harder to earn. We've talked about this trust recession. Mm-hmm. Competition is everywhere.
Yes.
I believe the businesses that win are the ones that deliver an experience that people talk about. Marketing gets you attention, but service determines if you ever get paid again.
Bingo!
So if you're serious about growth, this is an opportunity to audit that customer experience. Think about first contact. Think about long-term relationships. And think about the fact that, what happens after the sale really determines whether the business grows or stalls.
Yeah. I mean, yes. That's it.
Right? I mean, yeah. So, and listen, your client team, your services team is either building your brand or quietly burning it down. Right. Like, I mean, it really is that. Right. It really is that simple because the sale isn't the finish line.
Right.
Like when you think about that, it's the starting point for the next 10 sales. So, all right. I'm just going to leave it there flat. I mean, I think we got it done.
I agree.
So I'm going to give you the next to last, the pretend last word.
The almost last?
Yeah, the almost last.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming back. And next time, bring a friend.
All right, you heard it here. You heard it from the man, LG007. This has been another episode of the Grow Business Podcast. On behalf of myself, Cory Mosley, Lon Graham, LG007, and Willie H., we're thankful for you, and we want to see you next time.
Yeah.
Willie H., take us out.
In light of this conversation, Cory, I think about the word execute and the dual meaning of it, right? One is you execute, which means you deliver.
Right.
The other is you execute, which means the relationship. You execute the relationship because you didn't deliver. So it's, God, it's so important to be able to fulfill what you say you can do.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got.
No need to look for more words.
I'm gonna have to go out and start. I'm gonna have to go out and get my tape measure so I can measure off the kitchen, so I know how far to stay away and what lines I can be within and what lines I can't from my pickleball experience.
Right. I'm not even.